r/malicious compliance parents chose golden child over me, so I exposed their affair. The credit card declined for the third time, and I felt my face burn with embarrassment as the cashier gave me that look, the one that says, broke college kid, without saying a word. Behind me, other students shifted impatiently in line at the campus bookstore, probably wondering why I was holding up their day over a $300 textbook. I'm sorry, do you have another form of payment? The cashier asked, her voice dripping with fake sympathy. I pulled out my debit card, knowing full well my account balance was sitting at a whopping $47. But hey, maybe miracles happen, right? Wrong. Another decline. I'll come back later, I mumbled, stepping aside as the guy behind me rolled his eyes and moved forward with his stack of books. Walking across campus with my empty backpack, I pulled out my phone and stared at the text I'd sent my parents 3 days ago. Need help with textbooks for organic chemistry. $300. Can you help? Still no response. But guess what was lighting up my Instagram feed? My golden boy little brother Marcus showing off his brand new gaming setup, a $2,000 monster of a computer that our parents had surprised him with just because he'd been working so hard in high school. The same Marcus who barely scraped by with C's last semester while I maintained a 3.8 GPA in pre-med. I scrolled through the comments on his post. Mom had written, so proud of our hardworking boy. Smiling face with heart eyes red heart, and Dad had added only the best for our champion. Our champion. Right. When I'd gotten accepted into state university on a partial scholarship, Dad's response had been, well, I guess that's something. When Marcus made JV basketball, they threw him a party and bought him $200 sneakers. I called Mom as I walked back to my dorm. Oh, honey, hi, she answered, but I could hear the distraction in her voice. What's up? Did you see my text about the textbooks? A pause. Oh, right. Sweetie, money's just really tight right now. Can't you get used books? Or maybe borrow from a friend? Money's tight, but Marcus gets a gaming computer. That's different. He's been so stressed about college applications, and we wanted to do something nice for him. I stopped walking. Mom, I literally can't afford my textbooks. I'm going to fail organic chemistry without the required materials. Don't be so dramatic. You're resourceful, you'll figure something out. You always do. You always do. Translation, you're not our priority, so stop expecting us to actually parent you. Fine, I said, and hung up before she could hear my voice crack. Back in my dorm room, my roommate Jake was gaming while video chatting with his parents about his upcoming spring break plans. His mom was asking if he needed money for the trip, insisting on sending extra, just in case. I put in my earbuds and tried to focus on the homework I couldn't do because I didn't have the right books. That's when Marcus called. Dude, you'll never guess what just happened, he practically shouted into the phone. Mom and Dad said they're buying me a car. Like, an actual car. For graduation. I felt something cold settle in my stomach. A car. Yeah. Dad said since I got into state. You got into state? The same school I'd been attending for 2 years, the one they'd never once visited me at. Yeah, with like a 2.9 GPA. Dad said it shows I'm exceeding expectations and deserve a reward. Isn't that awesome? I hung up and stared at the ceiling, something dark and determined crystallizing in my chest. That's when I decided they were going to learn exactly what exceeding expectations really looked like. I couldn't sleep that night. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw Marcus's stupid grin and heard Dad's voice saying, our champion, while I sat here rationing ramen noodles and wearing the same 3 shirts I'd been rotating since freshman year. At 2 a.m., I gave up on sleep and opened my laptop. If they wanted to ignore me, fine. But I wasn't going to keep pretending everything was okay. I started with what I knew. Dad's late meetings that had been happening every Tuesday and Thursday for the past year. Mom's sudden interest in yoga classes that somehow required her to dress up in business attire. The way they'd both become obsessed with their phones, always angling the screens away from each other. You'd think I was imagining things, except I'd seen the credit card statements over winter break. Dad's card showed charges at expensive restaurants across town on days he claimed to be working late. Mom's showed hotel charges during her supposed yoga retreats, hotels that definitely didn't offer downward dog sessions. I'd kept quiet because, honestly, part of me figured if they were getting divorced, maybe one of them would finally pay attention to me. Naive, right? But now, watching them throw money at Marcus while I couldn't afford textbooks, I realized they were too busy living their double lives to notice either of their kids. The difference was Marcus got rewarded for their guilt, and I got forgotten. I opened Facebook and started scrolling through Dad's friends list. There she was, Jessica Martinez from his office. Her profile was mostly private, but her cover photo from last month showed her at the same restaurant Dad had charged on his card. The same night he told Mom he was working late on the Henderson account. Mom was trickier, but her Instagram told the whole story. Posted 2 weeks ago, a selfie with coffee with my favorite yoga instructor. Tagged was David Chen, whose profile showed he was married with 2 kids. His wife Sarah had a public Facebook account full of family photos and posts about her amazing husband who works so hard. I sat back and stared at my screen. 2 marriages that were about to implode. 2 families that had no idea what was coming. The old me would have felt sick about it. The old me would have closed the laptop and pretended I'd never seen anything. But the old me hadn't just been told that money was too tight for textbooks while my brother got handed a car. I took screenshots. Then I started digging deeper. Dad's business trips that lined up perfectly with Jessica's vacation days. Mom's girls' weekends that coincided with David's conference schedule. They'd been careful, but not careful enough. The best part? Our extended family still thought my parents were relationship goals. Aunt Linda was constantly posting about how she wanted a marriage, just like my brother and sister-in-law, so strong after all these years. Grandma bragged to her church friends about her son's beautiful family and his devoted wife. They were all going to get a very different picture soon. My phone buzzed with a text from Marcus. Dad's taking me car shopping tomorrow. Says we might look at BMWs. This is the best day ever. I typed back, so happy for you, then immediately deleted it. Instead, I sent, enjoy it while it lasts. Because I was done being the invisible child. If they wanted to pretend we were a perfect family while ignoring me, fine. But everyone else deserved to know the truth about who they really were. I opened a new email draft and cracked my knuckles. Time to show them what their forgotten daughter could really do. I stared at the blank email for 20 minutes, my cursor blinking like a heartbeat. Every time I started typing, I'd delete it and start over. How do you write, hey, your husband/wife is cheating, without sounding like a crazy person? My phone rang. Mom. Sweetheart, I've been thinking about our conversation earlier, she said, and for one stupid second, hope flickered in my chest. Maybe you could get a job. The campus library is always hiring, and it would teach you responsibility. Character building. The hope died. Mom, I already work 20 hours a week at the dining hall. Oh. Well, maybe more hours. When I was your age. When you were my age, college cost about as much as Marcus's gaming computer. Silence. Then, there's no need to be sarcastic. We're doing our best here. Are you? The words came out sharper than I intended. Because from where I'm sitting, it looks like you and Dad are doing your best at everything except being parents. Excuse me. I almost backed down. Almost. But then I heard Marcus laughing in the background about something Dad had said, and the sound made my jaw clench. Nothing. Forget it. Good. Now, your father and I wanted to tell you that we might not be able to visit for Parents' Weekend this semester. We have obligations. Obligations. Right. Like Dad's Tuesday night meetings with Jessica and Mom's weekend yoga retreats with David. Let me guess, I said. Dad has to work and you have a yoga thing. Another pause. How did you? Yes, exactly. You understand. I understood, all right. I understood perfectly. After hanging up, I went back to my laptop with new determination. But as I researched Sarah Chen's Facebook profile, looking for the best way to contact her, I found something that made my stomach drop. She'd posted yesterday, feeling so grateful for my amazing husband David. He's been working extra hard lately to save up for our dream vacation to Italy. 5 years of marriage and he still surprises me with his dedication to our family. Hashtag blessed, hashtag love you of my life. The post had 37 likes and comments from friends saying things like, you two are so perfect together, and goals. I scrolled through more of her photos. David with their twin daughters at a school play. Family hiking trips. Sarah wearing a world's best dad t-shirt she'd obviously gotten him for Father's Day. This wasn't some miserable couple on the verge of divorce. This was a woman who had no idea her world was about to explode. My hands started shaking. I switched to Jessica Martinez's profile and felt even worse. Her relationship status said single, but her recent photos showed her sister's wedding last month. In the caption, she'd written, someday I hope to find love like this. Still waiting for my person, but I believe he's out there. Oh, Jessica. Your person is married to my mother. I slammed the laptop shut and paced around my tiny dorm room. This was harder than I'd thought it would be. In my anger, I'd been thinking of them as faceless enemies, people complicit in my parents' lies. But they weren't. They were victims too. Sarah was planning an Italy vacation with money David was probably spending on my mother. Jessica was hoping for true love while dating someone who went home to a family every night. My phone buzzed with a text from Marcus, just test drove a BMW. Dad says if my grades stay up this semester, it's mine. Thanks for being such a good role model with your studying and stuff. I stared at the message. He was actually being nice to me, which somehow made everything worse. Marcus wasn't evil, he was just the favorite. He probably didn't even realize how differently our parents treated us. But that didn't change the fact that I was about to lose my scholarship if I couldn't afford my textbooks, while he got rewarded for mediocrity. I opened my laptop again. The cursor blinked expectantly. Some truths hurt. But lies hurt more. I started typing. I typed and deleted the same opening line 15 times. Dear Sarah, you don't know me, but... Sounded like a scam email. I'm sorry to tell you this, but your husband... Felt too dramatic. This is going to be hard to hear. Made me sound like a soap opera villain. Finally, I just went with the truth. My name is Alex, and I'm about to ruin both our days. I was 3 paragraphs in, explaining how I discovered the affair, when my roommate Jake burst through the door. Dude, you'll never guess what just happened in chem lab, he started, then stopped when he saw my face. Whoa. You look like you're planning someone's murder. I quickly minimized the email window. Just stressed about the textbook situation. Still can't afford it. Jake flopped onto his bed. That sucks. Hey, didn't you say your parents just bought your brother some expensive computer? Why won't they help you? The question I've been avoiding asking myself. Because admitting the answer out loud would make it real. They just have different priorities. Jake frowned. That's messed up. My parents would sell their car before they'd let me fail a class because I couldn't afford books. Must be nice, I thought bitterly. After Jake left for dinner, I reopened the email. But now I couldn't focus. My mind kept wandering to what would happen after I sent it. Sarah would confront David. Jessica would confront Dad. The whole house of cards would come tumbling down. Mom and Dad would know it was me. There's no way they wouldn't figure out who had connected the dots. My phone rang again. This time it was Dad. Hey kiddo, he said, and I could hear his car stereo in the background. Quick question, you haven't been on social media talking about family stuff, have you? My blood went cold. What do you mean? Nothing specific. Just, your mother's been paranoid lately about privacy. You know how women get. I almost laughed at the irony. No, Dad. I haven't posted anything about our family. Good, good. We like to keep our personal business personal, you know. Family loyalty and all that. Family loyalty. From the man who was currently driving to meet his mistress. Speaking of family, I said, testing the waters, any chance you could help with my textbook situation? I really need. Can't talk long, kiddo. I'm heading into an important meeting. But hey, we'll figure something out, okay? Love you. He hung up before I could respond. An important meeting. At 7 p.m. on a Thursday. Sure, Dad. I went back to the email, but my hands were shaking again. Not from guilt this time, from rage. He'd just blown me off to go cheat on Mom while lecturing me about family loyalty. Then I had a terrible thought, what if I was wrong? What if those restaurant charges were legitimate business dinners? What if Mom really was at yoga retreats? What if I was about to destroy innocent people's lives based on circumstantial evidence and my own bitter assumptions? I opened a new browser tab and dug deeper into Dad's credit card statements that I'd photographed over winter break. The Henderson account he'd mentioned working on, I found the client contact information on his company website. Henderson Industries was based in Chicago. Dad's business dinners were all at restaurants here in town. My stomach dropped. Either Dad was lying about which account he was working on, or he was lying about the meetings entirely. I found Mom's yoga studio's website. They didn't offer weekend retreats. They didn't even offer classes on the days Mom claimed to be there. So either my parents were both pathological liars about their schedules, or they were cheating. I closed the laptop again. Tomorrow, Marcus would probably get his BMW. Next week, I'd probably fail my first exam because I still couldn't afford the textbook. And my parents would keep playing Happy Family while destroying 2 others. I reopened the laptop and started typing faster this time. Some bridges were meant to be burned. I was about to hit send on the email to Sarah when my phone exploded with notifications. Marcus was live streaming from the BMW dealership, and apparently half our extended family was watching. Look at this beauty. Marcus grinned into his phone camera, running his hand along a silver sedan's hood. Dad says if I keep my grades up, she's mine. The comments were pouring in. Aunt Linda, so proud of you, honey. Automobile Sparkles, Cousin Mike, dude, that's sick. Grandma, such a good boy, deserves good things. Then I saw Dad wave in the background, and my heart stopped. He was supposed to be at his important meeting with Jessica. But there he was, genuinely car shopping with Marcus. My carefully constructed timeline crumbled. If Dad was really here, then maybe I had the wrong Thursday. Maybe. My phone rang. Marcus. Hey. Did you see my stream? This car is insane. Dad's talking to the finance guy now. His voice was pure excitement. Oh, and guess what? Mom texted that she's cutting her yoga retreat short to come see it. She's driving back tonight. Wait. Mom was supposed to be at a weekend retreat with David. But if she was coming home tonight. Marcus, what day did she leave for her retreat? Yesterday. Friday morning. Why? I pulled up David Chen's Facebook. His latest post from 3 hours ago showed him at his daughter's soccer game. The timestamp showed it was definitely today, and the location tag confirmed it was here in town. So either Mom wasn't with David, or David was somehow at his kid's soccer game while also being at a yoga retreat with my mother 2 hours away. My conspiracy theory was falling apart in real time. I felt sick. Had I been so desperate to find a reason for their neglect that I'd invented an entire scandal? Was I really about to destroy innocent people's lives because I couldn't afford textbooks? But then I remembered something. I pulled up Mom's credit card statement again and cross-referenced it with David's Facebook posts. The hotel charges were from 3 weeks ago, and David had posted about a work conference, those exact dates in a city an hour away from the hotel Mom had paid for. Different hotel, same city. Same weekend. My hands started shaking again, but this time with certainty, not doubt. They were just better at covering their tracks than I'd thought. I was about to go back to my email when I got a text from an unknown number. Is this Alex? This is Jessica Martinez. I think we need to talk. My blood turned to ice. How did she get my number? How did she even know I existed? Before I could process that, another text came in, this one from a number I didn't recognize. Hi Alex. This is Sarah Chen. I believe you know my husband David. Can we meet? I stared at my phone in horror. Both of them were contacting me. But I hadn't sent any emails yet. I hadn't reached out to anyone. Which meant someone else already had. My door burst open and Jake rushed in, his face pale. Dude, you need to see this. Someone's posting in the Campus Confessions Facebook group about your family. He showed me his phone. The post was anonymous, but the details were unmistakably about my parents, local, perfect family, hiding dirty secrets. Both parents cheating. Golden child gets BMW while older kid can't afford textbooks. Someone should tell their affair partner spouses before more damage is done. The post already had 47 reactions and 12 comments speculating about who it could be. That's not. I started, then stopped. Because I knew exactly who would have access to all this information and a reason to use it. Marcus called again, but this time his voice was panicked. Alex, something's wrong. Mom just called Dad screaming about some woman named Jessica calling her. And Dad's freaking out about someone named Sarah. They're both driving home right now and they sound really bad. What's happening? I looked at my laptop screen, at the unsent email I'd been agonizing over, then at my phone showing messages from both Jessica and Sarah. Someone had beaten me to it. Someone else was playing this game better than I was. And I had no idea who. My phone wouldn't stop buzzing. Text after text from numbers I didn't recognize, all asking variations of the same question. Are you the one who exposed your parents? I turned it face down and tried to think. Someone had nuclear bombed my family's life, and everyone assumed it was me. The irony would have been funny if I weren't having a panic attack. Okay, walk me through this again, Jake said, pacing our tiny dorm room like a detective. You were planning to expose your parents' affairs, but someone beat you to it. That's the thing, I don't think it was about the affairs. I pulled up the Campus Confessions post again. Look at what they focused on. The BMW versus textbooks thing. The golden child treatment. Someone specifically trying to make me look like the victim here. Jake frowned. Who else would know about your family dynamics? Before I could answer, my phone rang. Mom. I stared at the screen, my finger hovering over the decline button. Answer it, Jake whispered. You need to know what's happening. I picked up. Hello. Alex. Mom's voice was barely controlled fury. Get home. Now. Mom, I have classes. I don't care if you have tea with the president. You get in your car and drive home this instant, or so help me God, I will drive there and drag you back myself. The line went dead. That sounded pleasant, Jake muttered. I was throwing clothes into a bag when my phone rang again. This time it was a local news number. I declined it, but immediately another call came through from a different news station. Are they calling you about the Facebook post? Jake asked, watching me panic pack. I think it's bigger than just a Facebook post now. I showed him my phone as another unknown number tried calling. Someone's turned this into a public story. The drive home was surreal. I kept expecting to see news vans outside our house, but our street looked normal. Too normal. Like the calm before a hurricane. I sat in my car for 5 minutes, gathering courage. Through the living room window, I could see Mom pacing back and forth like a caged animal. Dad's car was in the driveway, which meant he'd abandoned Marcus at the car dealership. The front door opened before I could knock. Inside. Now. Dad's voice was dead calm, which somehow felt more terrifying than Mom's screaming. The living room felt like a courtroom. Mom and Dad sat on opposite ends of the couch, not touching, barely looking at each other. I took the chair across from them, feeling like I was about to be sentenced. Before you say anything, I started, I need you to know that I didn't. Didn't what? Mom interrupted. Didn't give our personal information to strangers. Didn't air our family's business to the entire internet. Didn't destroy, her voice cracked. I didn't post anything. I didn't contact anyone. I had nothing to do with whatever's happening. Dad leaned forward. Then explain how Jessica Martinez has your phone number. Explain how Sarah Chen knows your name and where you go to school. My stomach dropped. What? Don't play dumb with us, Mom snapped. Jessica called me an hour ago, crying, asking if I knew my daughter had contacted her about David. And Sarah Chen left your father a voicemail saying she had information from Alex about their spouse's relationship. I felt the room spinning. That's impossible. I never contacted either of them. I don't even have their numbers. Then how? Dad started, but stopped when his phone buzzed. He looked at the screen and his face went white. The story just went live on Channel 7's website. What story? I whispered. Mom grabbed her laptop and turned it toward me. The headline read, Local college student exposes parents' double affairs after being denied textbook money. Below it was a photo, our family Christmas picture from last year, the one from Mom's Facebook where we all looked happy and perfect. How did they get that photo? I breathed. That's what we'd like to know, Dad said coldly. Since you're apparently the whistleblower in this story. I scanned the article quickly. Anonymous sources. Details about the BMW versus textbook situation. Quotes from family friends about our parents' marriage being perfect on the surface. And my name mentioned as the overlooked older child who finally fought back. I didn't talk to any reporters. I swear to you, I have no idea how they got this information. Mom's laugh was bitter. Right. This is all just a coincidence. Someone else happened to know about Jessica and David and decided to destroy our lives for fun. Maybe someone you told, Dad suggested, his tone accusatory. Maybe you were complaining to friends about us, and one of them decided to take matters into their own hands. I thought about Jake, but he barely knew the details. I thought about my roommates from freshman year, but I hadn't kept in touch with them. The only person I'd really talked to about my family was. My blood went cold. Oh my God. What? Both parents said simultaneously. Marcus. The name came out as a whisper. He's the only one who would know everything. The family dynamics, the affairs, the money situation, everyone's names. Mom shook her head. That's ridiculous. Marcus would never. Where is he right now? I interrupted. Dad frowned. I left him at the dealership when Sarah Chen called. He said he'd get a ride home with a friend. I pulled out my phone and called Marcus. It went straight to voicemail. He turned off his phone, I said, showing them the screen. For the first time since I'd arrived, my parents looked uncertain instead of angry. But why would Marcus do this? Mom asked quietly. I stared at them both, these people who had been so focused on their own drama that they'd missed what was happening right under their noses. Maybe you should ask him when he gets home. If he came home at all. The house felt like a tomb after that revelation. We sat in silence, each lost in our own thoughts about Marcus and what he might have done. Every few minutes, one of our phones would buzz with another call from reporters, unknown numbers, or family members who'd seen the news. Finally, Dad broke the silence. This doesn't make sense. Why would Marcus destroy his own family? He's getting everything he wants. Is he though? The words came out before I could stop them. Mom's head snapped up. What's that supposed to mean? I thought about Marcus's text earlier, thanking me for being a good role model with studying and stuff. The way he'd seemed almost guilty about the BMW. Like he knew it wasn't fair. When's the last time either of you actually talked to him? Not about his grades or achievements or what you were buying him. Actually talked to him. They exchanged glances, and I saw the uncomfortable truth in their faces. He talks to us all the time, Mom said defensively. About what? His latest grade? His next reward? Do you know who his friends are? What he's worried about? Whether he's happy? Dad's phone rang again. This time he answered it. Marcus? Thank God. Where are you? Dad's relief was palpable. What do you mean you can't come home? Son, we need to talk about, his face changed. What do you mean you're sorry? Mom and I leaned forward, trying to hear Marcus's side of the conversation. Marcus, just tell me where you are. We'll come get you. No, you're not in trouble. Well, yes, we need to discuss what happened, but... Dad's voice took on a pleading tone I'd never heard before. Please, just come home so we can figure this out together. The conversation lasted another minute before Dad hung up, looking defeated. He's at Tyler's house. He says he's not ready to face us yet. Dad rubbed his temples. He admitted he contacted the reporters, but he wouldn't explain why. He just kept saying he was sorry and that he had to do something. Had to do something about what? Mom demanded, as if Dad should somehow know. But I was starting to understand. The guilt in Marcus's texts. The way he'd thanked me for being a role model. The timing of everything, right after he'd gotten his BMW while I couldn't afford textbooks. I think he felt guilty, I said quietly. About the way you treat us differently. We don't treat you differently, Mom protested automatically. Mom. I looked at her seriously. He got a $2,000 computer for average grades. I can't get $300 for required textbooks with a 3.8 GPA. He's getting a BMW for getting into the same college I've been attending for 2 years, a college you've never even visited. You threw him a party for making JV basketball. When I got into the pre-med program, Dad said, I guess that's something. The silence stretched between us. Maybe Marcus saw all of this more clearly than any of us realized, I continued. Maybe he couldn't handle being the golden child anymore when it meant watching his sister struggle. Dad's phone buzzed with another news alert. Channel 5 just picked up the story. They're calling it the Golden Child Rebellion. Mom started crying then, not the angry tears from earlier, but something deeper. How did this happen? How did our family fall apart so completely? I wanted to say it had been falling apart long before today, but I bit my tongue. Because sitting here, watching my parents actually process what they'd done for the first time, I realized something. Marcus hadn't just exposed their affairs. He'd forced all of us to finally tell the truth. The doorbell rang at 9 p.m., and we all froze like deer in headlights. I'll get it, Dad said, but he moved toward the door like he was walking to his own execution. Through the window, I could see it wasn't reporters, it was a woman I didn't recognize holding what looked like a casserole dish. Behind her stood a man with 2 young girls. Oh no, Mom whispered, peering over my shoulder. That's Sarah Chen. And her family. My stomach dropped as Dad opened the door. Sarah's smile was bright and terrifying, the kind of smile that said she was holding herself together through sheer willpower. Hi there. I'm Sarah Chen. I believe we have some things to discuss. Her voice was cheerfully venomous. I brought dinner since I figured you'd all be having a difficult evening. The 2 little girls, David's daughters, looked confused but excited to be out past their bedtime. One of them was clutching a stuffed animal. Dad started, but Sarah sailed past him into our living room like she owned the place. Girls, why don't you sit right here and watch something on your tablets while the adults talk? She set up her daughters on our couch with practiced efficiency, then turned to face us with that same terrifying smile. Now then. Where's David? David isn't here, Mom said weakly. This is a misunderstanding. Oh, there's no misunderstanding, Sarah interrupted, pulling out her phone. I have screenshots of the hotel receipts. Credit card statements. Even a few photos that David apparently forgot he'd posted on his private Instagram account. She scrolled through her phone. This one's particularly interesting, it's from your yoga retreat last month. Funny how you both happened to be at the riverside in the same weekend. She held up her phone, and I caught a glimpse of Mom and a man I assumed was David having dinner on what was clearly a romantic date. How did you, Mom started. Get these? Well, that's where it gets interesting. Sarah's smile became even more dangerous. See, I got a very enlightening phone call today from someone claiming to be Alex here. Except the person on the phone didn't sound like a college student. They sounded like a teenager. A teenage boy, specifically. My blood went cold. Marcus had impersonated me. He was very thorough, Sarah continued. Gave me dates, locations, even suggested I check David's private social media accounts. He seemed to know an awful lot about both your father's affair and your mother's. Dad sank into a chair. Marcus called you pretending to be Alex. Oh, he called me pretending to be Alex. He called Jessica pretending to be Alex. He contacted the reporters pretending to be Alex. Sarah's voice was getting harder. Your son threw your daughter under the bus while burning down both our families. One of Sarah's daughters looked up from her tablet. Mommy, why are you using your angry voice? I'm not angry, sweetheart. Mommy's just having a grown-up conversation. Sarah's tone instantly shifted to gentle motherly warmth, then snapped back to ice when she looked at us. But we're going to fix this situation right now. Sarah, please, Mom tried again. The children. The children deserve to know why their father won't be living at home anymore. Sarah pulled out a piece of paper. I've already filed for divorce. David's been served. He's currently packing his things under police supervision because I thought he might try to destroy evidence. She turned to me specifically. And you, Alex, are going to call every single reporter who published this story and tell them you were impersonated. Because I'll be damned if my daughters grow up reading articles about how their father's affair was exposed by some college student when it was actually your manipulative little brother pulling strings. The front door opened, and Marcus walked in. He took one look at Sarah and her daughters, at our parents' horrified faces, at me standing there like I'd been hit by a truck, and his face crumpled. I didn't think it would get this big, he whispered. Sarah stood up, and for a moment I thought she might actually hit him. You didn't think it would get this big, she repeated softly. You destroyed 2 marriages and blamed it on your sister, and you didn't think it would get big? Marcus looked at me with tears in his eyes. Alex, I'm sorry. I just wanted them to see how unfair they were being to you. But then everyone started asking questions and I panicked, and you threw me under the bus to save yourself, I finished. Because that's exactly what he'd done. My golden child brother had finally tried to do something good, and when it backfired, he'd made sure I'd take the fall. Sarah's daughters were staring now, tablets forgotten, sensing the adult tension even if they didn't understand it. The younger ones started to whimper, and something in that sound seemed to snap Sarah back to reality. Girls, go wait in the car, she said, her voice gentler but still steel underneath. Mommy needs 5 more minutes. As her daughters gathered their things, Sarah turned back to Marcus with laser focus. You have exactly 1 minute to explain to me why a 17-year-old boy thought it was his job to blow up my life. Marcus looked around the room desperately, like he was hoping someone would rescue him. When no one moved, he finally spoke. They were going to get divorced anyway. I could see it. They barely talked to each other anymore, they were always sneaking around, and Alex was getting screwed over while they were too busy with their other people to notice. His voice cracked. I thought if everyone found out at once, maybe Alex wouldn't be the bad guy for once. So you made her the bad guy instead, Sarah said flatly. I didn't mean for it to go public. I just wanted to tell you and Jessica what was happening so you could confront them privately. But then the reporters started calling and asking about the family dynamics, and they already knew Alex's name somehow, and you let them think she was the source, Dad finished, his voice hollow. Marcus nodded miserably. I panicked. I thought if I corrected them, I'd get in bigger trouble. The room fell silent except for the sound of Sarah's daughters arguing in the car outside. Through the window, I could see them fighting over who got to hold the stuffed animal, completely unaware that their world had just imploded. Well, Sarah said finally, adjusting her purse strap. Here's what's going to happen. Marcus, you're going to call every single media outlet that ran this story. You're going to tell them you impersonated your sister and that she had nothing to do with any of this. But, Marcus started. I'm not finished. Sarah's voice could have cut glass. Then you're going to write a public apology that clears Alex's name completely. And then you're going to stay the hell away from my family while we try to pick up the pieces of what you destroyed. She headed toward the door, then stopped and turned back. Oh, and David wanted me to give you this. She pulled an envelope out of her purse and tossed it onto our coffee table. It's his resignation letter from the yoga studio where he met your mother. Apparently, he's been teaching there for 6 months. Your mother wasn't sneaking off to hotels, she was sneaking off to take private lessons. Mom's face went white. Private lessons. Very private, Sarah confirmed. The kind where the instructor comes to your house when your husband thinks you're at a retreat. The implications of that hit me like a freight train. Mom hadn't been meeting David at hotels for secret weekend getaways. She'd been paying him to come to our house. To the home she shared with Dad. How many times? Dad asked quietly. Sarah shrugged. According to his calendar that I found. Every Tuesday and Thursday for 8 months. Sometimes Sundays when you were at Marcus's games. Dad's face went through several different expressions before settling on something that looked like death. In our house. In your house, Sarah confirmed cheerfully. While you were busy with Jessica Martinez, your wife was redecorating your bedroom with my husband. She opened the front door, letting in a blast of cold air. Have a wonderful rest of your evening. I'm sure you all have a lot to discuss. The door closed with a decisive click, leaving us in the kind of silence that felt like the aftermath of an explosion. Marcus was crying openly now. Mom looked like she might throw up. Dad was staring at David's resignation letter like it might spontaneously combust. And I realized that Sarah had been right about one thing, we definitely had a lot to discuss. Starting with the fact that apparently, I was the only honest person in this entire family. The silence after Sarah left was deafening. Marcus sat hunched over on the stairs, still crying. Dad hadn't moved from his chair, staring at David's resignation letter like it contained the secrets of the universe. Mom had disappeared into the kitchen, and I could hear her opening and closing cabinets, probably looking for wine, or something stronger. My phone buzzed. A text from Jake, dude, you're trending on Twitter. Hashtag Golden Child Revenge. What the hell happened? I was about to respond when the doorbell rang again. This time, it was definitely reporters. I could see the news van through the window, and a woman with perfect hair holding a microphone. Nobody answer that, Dad said automatically, but his voice sounded hollow. The doorbell rang 3 more times, followed by knocking. Then I heard the woman's voice through the door, we're looking for Alex. We just want to hear your side of the story. Marcus looked up at me with red, swollen eyes. I'll go tell them it was me. No. The word came out sharper than I intended. You've done enough damage for one night. But Alex, I was trying to help. Help. I turned on him, all the anger I'd been suppressing finally exploding. Marcus, do you have any idea what you've done? Those little girls who were just here. They're going to grow up reading about this on the internet. Sarah's marriage is destroyed. Jessica's been dragged into a public scandal. And me? I'm being blamed for all of it. I said I was sorry. Sorry doesn't fix this. I was shouting now, and I didn't care. You wanted to be the hero so badly that you destroyed multiple families, and when it blew up in your face, you threw me under the bus. Mom came back from the kitchen carrying a glass of what looked like straight vodka. Both of you, stop screaming. The reporters can probably hear you. Let them hear, I snapped. At this point, what's one more headline? Dysfunctional family screams at each other while house burns down. My phone rang. The caller ID showed Aunt Linda's name. Don't answer it, Dad warned. But I was beyond caring about his warnings. I picked up. Alex, honey, what is going on? Aunt Linda's voice was frantic. I just saw the news, and there are people on Facebook saying terrible things about your parents, Anne. It's all true, I said flatly. Every word. Dead silence on the other end. The affairs, the favoritism, everything. Marcus exposed it because he felt guilty about getting a BMW while I can't afford textbooks. Alex. Mom hissed, reaching for my phone. I stepped away from her. But here's the fun part, Aunt Linda. Marcus let everyone think I did it. So now I'm the villain who destroyed the family, even though I didn't make a single phone call or send a single message. I don't understand, Aunt Linda said weakly. None of us do, I replied. But you'll probably read all about it tomorrow. I'm sure someone's already called Grandma. I hung up and turned to face my family. Marcus was crying harder now. Dad looked like he'd aged 10 years in the past hour. Mom was halfway through her vodka. You know what the really sick part is? I said. For one brief moment tonight, when Sarah was here tearing you apart, I actually felt sorry for you. I thought maybe we could all finally be honest with each other and figure out how to move forward. I grabbed my keys from the table by the door. But then I remembered that none of this would have happened if you just treated your children equally. If you'd loved us both instead of loving Marcus and tolerating me. Alex, where are you going? Dad asked, finally looking up. Back to school. Where I'll figure out how to pay for my own textbooks while you deal with the mess your golden child made. I opened the door, and immediately 3 reporters started shouting questions at me. Camera flashes went off. Microphones were shoved in my direction. Alex. How does it feel to expose your parents' affairs? Were you planning this revenge for a long time? Do you regret destroying your family? I looked back at Marcus one last time. He was staring at me through the chaos of reporters, his face stricken with the realization of what he'd actually done. Ask him, I said loud enough for the cameras to pick up. He's the one with all the answers. Then I pushed through the crowd and got in my car, leaving my family to face the consequences of 16 years of lies. The real fun would start tomorrow, when the whole extended family started picking sides. The drive back to campus was a blur of angry tears and my phone buzzing nonstop. I turned off the radio because every station seemed to be running the story during their late-night news segments. By the time I pulled into the dorm parking lot, I had 47 missed calls and over 200 text messages. Jake was waiting in our room with his laptop open and a concerned expression that immediately made me want to turn around and leave. Okay, I've been following this shitshow online for the past 3 hours, he said without preamble. And dude, it's gotten weird. Weird how? I collapsed onto my bed, emotionally drained. Weird like someone leaked the original Facebook post screenshots to Reddit, and now there are entire threads analyzing your family dynamics. Weird like hashtag Golden Child Revenge is trending nationally. Weird like, he turned his laptop toward me. Your high school classmates are posting yearbook photos and receipts about how your parents treated you differently at school events. I stared at the screen in horror. Someone had posted a photo from my high school graduation where my parents were clearly checking their phones while I walked across the stage. Another showed them cheering wildly at one of Marcus's basketball games. The contrast was devastating. It gets worse, Jake continued. Someone found your parents' social media accounts and started screenshotting all their posts. Look at this. He showed me a side-by-side comparison someone had made, 57 Facebook posts about Marcus's achievements over the past year versus 8 posts mentioning me, all of which were group family photos where I was barely visible in the background. The internet has officially adopted you as their tragic heroine, Jake said grimly. There are people calling for GoFundMes to pay for your textbooks. Someone started a petition to investigate academic inequality in families. It's insane. My phone rang again. This time it was a number with a New York area code. Don't answer that, Jake warned. I've been screening your calls. That's the 4th national news show that's tried to reach you. Apparently, Good Morning America wants you for tomorrow's segment about family favoritism and academic pressure. I felt sick. This was supposed to stay local. Family drama, maybe a small news story, then everyone moves on with their lives. Yeah, well, your brother really knew how to pick his moment. Apparently, there's been a bunch of studies recently about parental favoritism and its psychological effects. Some child psychologist on Twitter called your situation a textbook case of golden child syndrome, and now everyone's an expert on your family. He pulled up Twitter and showed me the trending hashtags, hashtag golden child revenge, hashtag textbookgate, hashtag family favoritism. Thousands of people were sharing their own stories of unequal treatment, using my family as the poster child for dysfunctional parenting. Look at this thread, Jake said, scrolling through responses. A woman in Ohio says her parents bought her brother a house but made her pay rent to live at home. A guy in Texas says his parents paid for his sister's wedding but he had to take out loans for community college. You've accidentally started a movement. That's when I saw the worst part. Someone had found Jessica Martinez's social media and was harassing her in the comments, calling her a homewrecker and posting crying laughing emojis on all her photos. Sarah Chen had apparently deactivated all her accounts entirely. Oh God, I whispered. Those women didn't ask for any of this. They're victims too, and now they're being attacked by internet strangers because of what Marcus did. It's about to get worse, Jake said quietly. Someone just posted your dorm address on TikTok. Campus security called. Apparently there are people with cameras outside our building. I looked out our window and saw the news vans parked on the street, their bright lights illuminating the darkness. My phone buzzed with a text from Mom, the reporters won't leave. Marcus locked himself in his room. Your father's at a hotel. Please come home. For the first time all night, I almost laughed. She wanted me to come home and help fix the mess that Marcus had created, after years of treating me like an afterthought. I turned off my phone and pulled the curtains closed. Tomorrow, I'd figure out how to make this stop. Tonight, I just wanted to disappear. I woke up to Jake shaking my shoulder and sunlight streaming through gaps in our hastily closed curtains. Alex, you need to see this, he said, his voice tight with worry. Like, right now. I grabbed my phone and immediately regretted it. Overnight, my story had somehow made it to national morning shows, but with a twist that made my blood run cold. Local teen exposes family corruption after years of abuse, read the headline on CNN's website. Below it was a photo of me from my high school yearbook next to what looked like a professional headshot of Marcus. Abuse? I croaked, my voice hoarse from yesterday's screaming. What are they talking about? Jake pulled up a video clip from Good Morning America. A woman I'd never seen before was sitting in their studio, introduced as Dr. Rebecca Martinez, child psychology expert and family advocate. Wait. Martinez? That's Jessica's sister, I realized, watching the woman gesture emphatically at the camera. Jessica Martinez's sister is on national television. It gets worse, Jake warned. Dr. Martinez was speaking in that serious, concerned tone that TV experts use. What we're seeing here is a clear pattern of emotional neglect and parentification. Alex was forced to become the responsible, independent child while Marcus was kept dependent through material rewards. This kind of systematic favoritism is a documented form of psychological abuse. The host nodded gravely. And you believe Alex's exposure of the affairs was a cry for help? Absolutely. When children are consistently invalidated and their basic needs, like textbooks for education, are ignored while a sibling receives luxury items, we often see desperate attempts to force parents into accountability. I felt the room spinning. She's making me sound like some kind of abuse victim who planned this whole thing as revenge. There's more, Jake said grimly. Someone leaked Marcus's social media DMs. He showed me screenshots that were circulating on Reddit. Messages from Marcus to his friends over the past few months, complaining about how guilty he felt about the way our parents treated me. One particularly damning message read, "I hate watching them ignore Alex while throwing money at me. It's like they're trying to buy my silence about their affairs or something." He knew about the affairs for months, I said, staring at the messages. He knew, and he watched our parents blow me off for textbooks while knowing they were cheating. But that wasn't the worst part. The worst part was the message thread from last week, right after our parents had refused to help with my textbooks. "I can't take it anymore. Alex is going to lose her scholarship and my parents don't even care. Someone needs to make them pay attention." Jake scrolled to the most recent message, sent yesterday afternoon. "I might have fucked up. This got way bigger than I planned. Everyone thinks Alex did it and now she's going to hate me forever." "So he did plan this," I said slowly. "The whole thing. He didn't just impulsively call people, he's been plotting this for months." My phone started ringing. Mom again. This time, I answered. "Alex, thank God," Mom's voice was frantic. "You need to get off social media and stop talking to reporters." "I haven't talked to any reporters." "Well, someone has, because there's a woman on TV claiming Jessica is her sister, and she's saying we abused you, and now Child Services wants to interview Marcus." "Wait, what?" I sat up straighter. "Child Services? They're calling it a wellness check, but Alex, if they find out about the affairs and the money situation, they might. Marcus is still a minor." The implication hit me like a truck. If Child Services decided our home was unstable, Marcus could be removed. The golden child who'd orchestrated this entire mess might end up in foster care because of his own manipulation. "Where's Dad?" I asked. "Still at the hotel. He's afraid to come home because there are reporters camped outside, and apparently someone found out about his meetings with Jessica and they're following him too." Through our dorm window, I could see that the crowd outside had grown overnight. What had started as a few local news vans was now a full media circus, complete with protesters holding signs about family equality and educational justice. "Mom," I said carefully, "I think you need to get Marcus a lawyer." "A lawyer? Why would?" She stopped. "Oh God. You think he could be in legal trouble?" I looked at Jake, who was scrolling through more leaked messages showing Marcus's detailed planning of the exposure. "I think Marcus might be in a lot more trouble than any of us realized." I was about to respond to Mom when Jake grabbed my arm, his face pale as he stared at his laptop screen. "Alex, you need to see this right now," he whispered urgently. "Someone just posted security camera footage." My heart stopped. Security footage of what? He turned the screen toward me, and I watched grainy black and white footage of Marcus sitting in what looked like the public library, surrounded by printed papers and his laptop. The timestamp showed it was from 2 weeks ago. "Someone recorded him researching this whole thing," Jake explained. "Look at what's on the table." I squinted at the screen. Even through the poor quality, I could make out printed Google searches: how to contact someone's spouse anonymously, revenge on cheating parents, how to expose affairs without getting caught. "Mom, I have to go," I said into the phone. "Alex, don't hang up." I ended the call and stared at the footage. Marcus hadn't just stumbled into this plan. He'd been researching it methodically, like a term paper. "It gets worse," Jake said, scrolling to another tab. Someone found his browser history from the library computers. He was on forums about family revenge, looking up legal consequences for exposing affairs, even researching which reporters would be most likely to pick up a family scandal story. My phone exploded with notifications as the security footage spread across social media. The narrative was shifting again, from abused daughter fights back to calculating teenager destroys family with premeditated plan. But then I saw something that made my blood freeze. "Jake, look at the date on that footage again." He checked. February 15th. 2 weeks ago. Why? That's the day before Marcus texted me about being grateful for having me as a role model. I felt sick. He was buttering me up, making sure I'd be sympathetic when everything exploded. A new realization hit me, and that's 3 days after our parents bought him the gaming computer. He wasn't feeling guilty about favoritism, he was angry that their guilt gifts weren't enough to buy his silence anymore. Jake pulled up Marcus's social media timeline. "Look at this." The day after he got the computer, he posted, "Sometimes material things can't fix fundamental problems." Everyone thought he was being deep and philosophical. He was threatening them, I breathed. In public. He was basically saying the computer wasn't enough to keep him quiet. My phone rang. An unknown number with a local area code. "Alex? This is Detective Morrison with Campus Police. We need to speak with you about your brother's activities. Can you come to the station?" My stomach dropped. Am I in trouble? "No, you're not in trouble. But we've received some concerning information about potential harassment and identity theft. Your brother may have committed several crimes when he impersonated you." After I hung up, Jake and I sat in stunned silence. "Identity theft," I said finally. "He didn't just ruin my reputation, he literally stole my identity to do it." "And harassment," Jake added. "He contacted Jessica and Sarah using your name, made them think you were threatening to expose them unless they took action. That's basically extortion." I thought about Sarah Chen's terrifying smile last night, the way she looked at me like I was the villain in her story. Marcus had made those women think I was the one tormenting them. A knock at our door made us both jump. Through the peephole, I could see a woman in a business suit with a campus security officer. Alex Thompson. I'm Linda Walsh from Child Protective Services. We need to discuss your family situation and your brother's current living conditions. I opened the door, and Linda stepped inside with a kind but serious expression. I know this has been overwhelming, but we have concerns about Marcus's welfare given the recent revelations about your parents' behavior and his own actions. We also need to understand if you've been subjected to neglect or emotional abuse. I stared at her, realizing that Marcus's plan had spiraled so far beyond his control that he might end up destroying himself in the process. I sat across from Linda Walsh and Detective Morrison in a sterile campus conference room, feeling like I was in some kind of surreal nightmare. Through the window, I could see the media circus outside had grown even larger. There were now protesters with signs reading, "Justice for Alex," mixed in with actual news crews. Let me make sure I understand this correctly, Detective Morrison said, flipping through his notes. Your brother impersonated you when contacting Jessica Martinez, Sarah Chen, and at least 3 different news outlets? That's what it looks like, I said, my voice barely above a whisper. I never spoke to any of them directly. Linda Walsh leaned forward. And you had no knowledge of his plan to expose your parents' affairs? None. I mean, I suspected something was going on with them, but I stopped, realizing how this sounded. I was frustrated about the textbook situation, yes. But I wasn't planning some elaborate revenge scheme. Detective Morrison's radio crackled to life. He stepped outside to take the call, leaving me alone with Linda. Alex, I need you to be completely honest with me, she said gently. Have you ever felt unsafe at home? Have your parents ever threatened you or made you feel like you couldn't speak up about problems? I thought about all the times I'd bitten my tongue, swallowed my frustration, accepted being overlooked. But unsafe? Threatened? It's not like that, I said finally. They weren't abusive. They just forgot about me. Like I was background noise while Marcus was the main event. Before Linda could respond, Detective Morrison returned with a grim expression. We just got a call from your hometown police department. Your parents' house has been vandalized. Someone spray-painted "cheaters" across the garage and threw rocks through 2 windows. My heart sank. Is anyone hurt? No, but your brother was home when it happened. He's pretty shaken up. Morrison sat back down. The thing is, we think the vandalism might be connected to some of the online harassment that's been escalating. People are posting your family's address, encouraging others to make the cheaters pay. Linda's expression darkened. This is exactly what we were worried about. Marcus is a minor caught in the middle of a situation that spiraled completely out of control. There's more, Morrison continued. We've been analyzing the timeline of your brother's activities, and it appears he may have been planning this for months. But here's the concerning part. Some of his online research included searches like, what happens to kids when parents get divorced, and, do minors get to choose which parent to live with? I felt cold all over. You think he was trying to force a divorce? It's looking that way. And given that your parents were apparently spending money on affairs while claiming they couldn't afford your education, Marcus might have thought exposing them would somehow result in more resources being available for both of you kids. Linda was typing rapidly on her tablet. Unfortunately, his methods may have constituted criminal activity. Identity theft, harassment, potentially extortion if he threatened to expose the affairs unless certain demands were met. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. Your brother ruined my mom's life. I know where you go to school. I showed the message to both of them with shaking hands. That's the 4th threat we've documented today, Morrison said grimly. Alex, I don't think it's safe for you to stay on campus right now. This story has attracted some very angry people who think your family destroyed their own situations with infidelity. Linda nodded. And frankly, I'm concerned about Marcus's safety as well. A 17-year-old who orchestrated this level of manipulation and deception needs immediate psychological evaluation. As if summoned by her words, my phone rang. Dad's number. I answered on speaker. Hello. Alex, thank God. Marcus is gone. He left a note saying he couldn't handle what he'd done and needed to fix things. We have no idea where he went, and with all these crazy people threatening our family. Dad's voice cracked. We need to find him before someone else does. The room fell silent except for the sound of protesters chanting outside, no more golden children. Family equality now. My 17-year-old brother was somewhere out there, alone, with an angry mob looking for our family. And somehow, I was the only one who might be able to find him. I stared at Dad's panicked voice coming through the phone speaker, my mind racing through every conversation I'd had with Marcus over the past few weeks. There was something he'd said, something that felt important now. Dad, what exactly did his note say? Just that he was sorry and needed to make things right. Alex, the police are looking for him, but... The old treehouse, I said suddenly, cutting him off. Behind Jefferson Elementary. He used to hide there when he was little and got overwhelmed. Detective Morrison was already standing. We'll send a unit there immediately. No, I said firmly. If there are police cars and sirens, he'll run again. Let me try first. Linda looked concerned. Alex, given the threats you've been receiving. I'll go with her, Detective Morrison said. Plain clothes, unmarked car. But we do this carefully. 20 minutes later, we were parked across the street from my old elementary school. The treehouse was barely visible through the winter branches, a ramshackle platform Marcus and I had built with Dad during one of his rare good parenting moments years ago. There, I pointed. I can see him. Marcus was sitting on the platform, his legs dangling over the edge, staring at his phone. Even from a distance, I could see his shoulders shaking. I walked across the empty playground alone, my footsteps crunching on frozen leaves. Marcus looked up when he heard me coming, and his face crumpled. Alex, I'm so sorry, he sobbed. I ruined everything. I just wanted them to notice how unfair they were being to you, but now there are people threatening to hurt you, and Jessica's sister is on TV lying about our family, and Sarah's kids are getting bullied at school because of me. I climbed up into the treehouse and sat beside him. Marcus, why didn't you just talk to me? We could have figured out another way. Because you're perfect, he exploded. You get good grades and work hard and never complain, even when they treat you like garbage. I'm the screw-up who only gets attention when they buy me things. I thought if I exposed them, maybe we could finally be a real family. I stared at my little brother, this kid who'd always seemed to have everything handed to him, and realized he'd been just as lost as I was, just in a different way. Marcus, you're not a screw-up. You're 17 and you made a really, really bad decision. But you're not a bad person. He wiped his nose on his sleeve. The police want to arrest me, don't they? Probably. But we'll figure it out. That's what families do, they stick together when things get hard. For the first time in years, Marcus hugged me. I'm going to tell everyone the truth. All of it. That I planned everything, that you had nothing to do with it, that I used your name because I was a coward. I hugged him back. Okay. But we're doing this the right way. With lawyers and parents and actual adults helping us. As we climbed down from the treehouse together, I realized something had fundamentally shifted. Not just between Marcus and me, but in our entire family dynamic. The lies were finally out in the open, which meant we could either fall apart completely or actually start building something real. My phone buzzed with a text from Mom, whatever happens next, we love you both. We're going to fix this. For the first time in months, I believed her. Because sometimes families have to break completely before they can learn how to be whole.